Right, so we are live now. Hi everyone. Hope you had a good day and looking forward to create a designer handbag. So we'll be starting this session with a quick carving. I've already set a carrot cake with some cheese frosting and place it in the freezer for a little while just before the starting of this live demo. So I'm going to shape the cake, cover it with buttercream. It will go back in the fridge while preparing all the other bits which we need for decorating. We'll try to keep it as short and informative as possible. I've prepared a few of the decorations, but I'm going to show you how I've made them, and we can literally just paint them and apply them onto the cake, just as a matter of interest about what we are going to make tonight. Just going to change the image. So this is the handbag which we will try to replicate. So thank you very much for joining, and I do hope I will keep you excited and next to me by the end of the session. So let's crack on, as the time is super precious for everyone. So this is the handbag which we are going to create. Literally this is printed on an edible sheet. So in case that you are running out of time and you want to create a very quick cake, and you've got access to an edible printing, you can practically realize the flap by just printing out and apply this, and you can apply this onto the cake. We are going to make all the details by hand, but this is something which you can consider in case that you are running out of time. So let's crack on. I'm going to leave this on the side and refer to it whenever is necessary. So first of all, let's put some gloves on and prepare the carving area. The cake, as I've mentioned, is a carrot cake filled with some cheese frosting. Now we do have the recipes I think we do, but I will double check. I think we've got the recipes on the Academy of Cake Decorating group about how to make this carrot cake. And with the cheese frosting, it's literally some buttercream mixed with Philadelphia cheese. But if you look for the buttercream recipe, I think it's got details about how you can mix with the soft cheese. It's literally a matter of preference, so you can put more or less depending on how much you love the taste of the cheese. I like it, so for me it's fine, but some people are not huge fans of the soft cheese, so you can keep it just with buttercream. So I'm going to get my turning table just to have it more accessible for carving, and I'm also going to rub this into a piece of cling film so that it is all kept relatively clean. When it comes to carving, we always end up with lots of crumbs on the side, but this is just a very basic carving job, so it will be fine. Now if you remember, last week we did a figurine, and I did a similar type of board, which I've kind of reused because this cake is not going to be served by anyone. It's just for demonstrating. By the way, the cake is delicious, but we try to cut down on sugar, so I'm not going to go through the process of covering the board, just through the process of carving and decorating the handbag. So it's just a slab of cake which I've cut in rectangles, and I've put with some cheese frosting in between. So I'm going to start straightening the sides and rounding the tops so that it looks presentable. So just going to shave. Overall, the whole thing is like 1.5 kilograms, so it's suitable to feed about 15 people. It's a bit firm because it was kept in the freezer, but as it will sit at the room temperature, it will probably get very soft. So I'm trying to carve it before it starts getting soft. Now, whenever you see that my knife gets stuck onto the sponge is because I've got some walnuts which have been caramelized and added to the sponge. So it sounds quite promising in regards with the flavor. If you've got any questions to ask, please do pop your questions or comments as comments. If I would have the chance to answer during the demo, I will do it. If not, I will have a look after the demo and get back to you with the answers. Okay, just shaving the corners just to soften a little. If we look at this bag, it actually is more like rectangular, so it doesn't have too much carving involved. If you're a bit afraid about carving, you can actually leave it as a block of cake and don't worry too much about shaping, as you can shape out by using the fondant and giving that roundness look by adding or removing some of the fondant. So I think I'm kind of done. So very quick job this time. I'm going to transfer this back onto my board, clear up the turning table and the area, and then do a quick covering in buttercream. So those crumbs can be used along with the buttercream or cheese frosting. This is a bit firm as well, as I said. It was kept in the freezer, so it's half frozen. But you can mix and then you can make cake pops in the traditional round shape, or you can shape them in whatever shape you prefer, hot air balloons and so on. And you can glaze them in candy melt or couverture, chocolate couverture, and they look really pretty. And it just helps you not to waste any piece of cake. So, good. Just doing a little bit of tidy up so that we can carry on with coating. Now when you coat, you obviously need some buttercream or ganache. I know that majority are a huge fan of ganache, but I don't always use ganache for covering. Sometimes I go just for buttercream, maybe because of the color. Saying that you can obviously use white ganache, but if you don't have ganache ready, if you fill the cake with buttercream, it makes sense to cover the cake with buttercream. You don't have to be afraid that the buttercream will behave differently than ganache. It's literally the way how you finish your cake, which will affect the look, not the fact that it's ganache or buttercream. And if you want it to get it quite firm, you can also place it in the fridge or freezer. It gets firm and you cover. Same thing like with the ganache. So again, just putting a little bit of plastic in here. What I'm going to do, I will transfer the cake again back onto here without the cake card. Now the cake doesn't have any cream on the base. Okay, I'm going to put the cream on the board when I will transfer it as a full piece. If for any reason you are afraid of handling the cake after it's all decorated and covered, you can get a cake card, maybe like a thin cake card, and with the help of a scissor you can trim a base and literally place your cake onto the cake card so that you can handle the cake much easier if you are afraid. But it's just a regular kind of shape cake, so it shouldn't be a problem to maneuver in any way. So I've got my buttercream here, which I'm going to spread onto the cake. I don't want to put a thick layer of this buttercream because the fondant can start getting funny and it can slide on the sides. I'm going to just add a thin layer to cover it, so that when I put my fondant, it sticks nicely onto the cake. But so just a thin layer. I would suggest whenever you do a 3D cake, even if it's a basic shape, to put the cream inside, not on the outer edge, because the fondant or whatever paste you use for covering can start sliding, especially if it's something quite tall. You will get into the troubles. So the cream should go inside and not as a cover, if you prefer to have more cream with your cake. Okay, so not quite picky about the finishing, as it's not relevant on this project. I want it to look nice, but I'm not as obsessed with the smooth finishing. By the time I will add the decorations, this surface is almost not going to be seen, so it's just a waste of time. So as long as it's presentable, then you are in safe hands. So I'm going to take another piece of cling film, because I don't like the feeling of touching this cream and getting messy. And also, by protecting the cake with cling film, when you take it out from the fridge, whatever you are going to keep this while you prepare your rest of the decorations, you can smooth the cake when it comes out from the fridge, so you literally don't need smoother. If you have to use a smoother, in some circumstances you might need to use it, and the shape of the cake is irregular, you can get a piece of plastic, like a plastic folder, and make yourself a flexible smoother, which you can use to smooth the areas which are not perfectly straight or are not regular. But in our case, everything looks pretty much basic. So this will go in the fridge. It doesn't need to go in the freezer. I mean, it can go in the freezer, it's no problem. But we are going to put it in the fridge. Just going to change the angle of the camera. And I will have to just ask you to bear 1 second while I'm putting this in the fridge. Good. Thank you for waiting. And now we'll start preparing the decorations. What I did prior to start the demo, I started to roll some fondant, and what I've got here is some pre-rolled black fondant, and I've used the pasta top from Saracino. That's beautiful fondant to work with, but you have to make sure that it's pasta top, not pasta modeling. But you have to put a little bit more pressure into it to get it quite stretchy. As I've got to roll 2 pieces, I decided to roll the first one off camera, just to try and save some time and not to keep you watching me while I'm rolling fondant. So I'm going to roll the second part, second bit, which is smaller and it takes less time. As you can see, I've got this fondant covered, rolled, and also covered with a piece of plastic. This is a guitar sheet, so it's not a special mat. It's just a guitar sheet, so a piece of acetate paper, quite flexible, but perfect for rolling the small sizes, pieces of gum paste or fondant. Another good thing about this acetate paper is that in case that you want to roll the fondant prior starting the decorating, you can cover it and you can maintain the freshness. So nothing expensive, nothing fancy. It's just a piece of plastic in a slightly larger size. Now if you want to use cellophane, for example, that might work, but that's quite thin and you might create some creases and you might get those indented onto your fondant. So this is softer than the cellophane. So I'm going to cover the cake in one go when it comes out from the fridge with this piece of fondant. So literally my base, it will be completely covered in black fondant. And I have to spend time to make the rest of the decoration, so the front of the bag with all those details. And I have to decide on what kind of handle I'm going to make. And then once I've got everything ready, I can take the cake out, literally cover and apply the decorations. So when you know exactly what size you have to work with, it's very easy. Now when I built up my cake, I took in consideration that I want to reach this size for the front of the handbag. So I know that my cake will actually be this kind of size. So I can use this as a template, and I can get the measurements, and even if I don't reproduce those identical, I'll give you some tips about how to do it if you really want to do it perfectly identical with this. I'm going to use whatever I got available just to mimic the shape of all those metallic bits. But you can obviously cut them freehand and get to the perfect match with this design. Now the handbag is completely black, but if you can notice, one side is looking darker than the other because one is textured and the other one is not. So let's start doing the bits and see which one has the textured side. So on here, the light shows that this part, which is lighter in color, is actually textured. Now to texture, I picked a board. It's a plastic board and is used for thermoforming. We do have a thermoforming machine and we use it to make molds. And this is the type of board which is suitable for such a project, and is also suitable for food contact. But if you don't have such a thing, you might want to look on and just buy a plastic folder with a similar texture or a table mat, and give it a good wash and use it, because it's definitely not toxic and it just works like a mat. Or you might find an embossing mat with this kind of very, very fine texture. Good. So going back to my fondant and the way how I've rolled this fondant, you can use this fondant, or to do the flap of the bag, you can also use the pasta model. The pasta model is a bit firmer and it will keep the shape better. So one or the other, whatever works for you, you can use it for such a thing. So I'm going to use the pasta top to make the embossed flap, and then the darker pieces, they will be made with pasta model, just to see how both work. So I'm going to pinch a small amount. Sorry for the crinkly noise. Because it's such a flexible type of paste, you don't need to use very much. So I have to roll a piece, and if I take the measurements, I think it's about 7 inch, if I'm not mistaken. No, it's more than 7 inch. It's about 7.5 inches wide and about 5.5 to 6 inches long. So I'm going to pick a smooth side, place it down, and then start squashing. Whenever you've got to roll like a rectangle, you can start with a sausage shape. So say, for example, if you've got a nice sausage shape to start with, and you get your rolling pin, you press in the center, and you just go backwards and forwards, and then you turn and carry on going the opposite way. The fact that you are flipping the fondant and you are keep rotating this fondant, it will help you to get an even thickness. Now if you think that the amount of fondant is not enough, then you can increase this to a much larger quantity. But that will give you a thick layer of fondant onto your cake, so you have to take in consideration this aspect if you really want to get that much fondant onto your cake. In case that the rolling pin starts getting quite sticky, you can use some icing sugar to roll out, but I'm not going to use the icing sugar. I'm going to actually use one mat. Let's see if I've got one here. I do. It's a bit greasy. but just a little bit as it was used previously. Let me just give it a quick wipe with a tissue. Okay. Okay, and when you use the mat, you don't really have to use the icing sugar. So I have to just place this in here and secure on the end of the table, and then stretch the fondant. At one point you will notice that it's very difficult to stretch the fondant. Reason being, this is going to get stuck to the mat. So if you lift and allow the air to get underneath, then it will stretch very nicely. Okay. So again, stretching and checking to see the size. So I've got 8 and I've got 6. So this is more than actually I need. So I can trim the edges. And I did not use any icing sugar. And it's all looking nice. Now, if this is a bit too sticky, what you can do, you can leave it exposed to the air for a little while, or maybe just use a little fan, and that's going to help you with the process of drying. But before to do that, I just want to emboss. So I'm going to place this upside down, and with the help of my rolling pin, I'll put some texture. Okay, just applying an even pressure throughout. It should texture my fondant. Good. So let's see if I've managed to get the right texture in here. It got stuck to the board, so I have to use something to detach. I'm going to use that knife just to peel this slightly away, and then I'm going to release it, and it's good. But it's very soft, so we'll be placing this in front of the fan. So by the time we start cutting, it should firm up a little. But if you are in a rush, then you can use gum paste. But saying that, with the gum paste, that it starts getting dry very quick, and you can get into troubles because it's not quite pleasant to eat. But if you don't want to use gum paste, you can use the modeling paste, which I've been talking about. This modeling paste is firmer because it contains sort of cocoa butter, so vegetable fat. It tends to get firmer than the fondant. Fondant has to be soft because it has to maintain the freshness on the cake, so that we can cut the cake even after 2 days or 3 days after making. So we automatically need a soft texture. But if you want to get a quicker result, you can use this modeling paste. This intends to get soft under the heat of your hand, but firmer at the room temperature, or if it's placed in the fridge. You can also do the same thing with your fondant. You can place it a little bit in the fridge, but then you have to transfer it immediately onto your cake. Good, so I'm just going to squash and roll this, and you can see that this is much firmer. Price wise is not a huge difference. The modeling paste, it might be like, I don't know for sure, but it might be like, say, 12 pounds, maximum of 12 pounds per kilogram, while the pasta top might be about 9 to 10 pounds per kilogram, so not a huge difference in price. Okay, so it's not so sticky. You've noticed that I did not even have to use the mat to roll, so I might decide to use this one. But I'll put the texture on it. You always, as decorator, you have to decide what's the best option as you go along. Just be flexible and think, as they say, outside the box, and do whatever works for you, because your time is the most precious. So again, I can add the texture into it and just roll another piece with no texture for doing the rest of the bits. Yeah, even the texture looks better on this one. So this is the one which I'm going to use. So I have to maybe trim this, which I've suggested you to use in case of an emergency as a final decoration on your cake. So you can literally decorate your cake, cover it in black fondant, have this printed and attach it to the cake, make a handle, and you are done. If it's a budget cake and an urgent cake, why not? Because it just saves you the time. The reason why I'm cutting now is just I want the size. I literally want the size so that I can show you that you can use this, or you can make by hand all the details required. Okay. Okay, so using this template, I will place it on top of my paste. Let's change the angle, as we've got the luxury of having different cameras. We have to use them. Okay, so this is my cutout. So this is literally what I'm looking to use to plaque the front of the cake. I'm going to use a crafting knife. Now my mat is safe to be used for cutting, so I don't have to worry about cutting through the mat. If you are afraid to use a piece of paper as a template, you can always use a ruler and place the ruler next to the paper. So you've got the paper as a guide, but literally the blade of your crafting knife is touching the ruler, not the paper, and you cut the pieces out. The good thing about this modeling paste is that it doesn't dry so quick, so you've got the flexibility of, you know, cutting and just keeping the pieces on the side in case that you need to use them again. If you are scared and confident that you can cut straight, you can just do it freehand. You don't even need to use this ruler. What I'm going to do, I will leave a bit of an extra piece of paste, whatever that is, modeling paste like I do, fondant, so on. You can also mix the fondant with a bit of CMC, and that will be fine because it will give you a much firmer consistency of the fondant. I'm also going to round the corners, even if that's not so important, as I'm going to attach those decorations. Okay, and then cut this as well. But I've left this extra piece because I have to put this over the bag, on top of the bag, so I've left it a bit longer. Good, so what I have to do now is to transfer this into a piece of cake art so that I can maneuver this easy. And I'm going to use this board because I don't need it anymore. Okay. But you can practically use any cutting mat. In fact, this is not a good idea because it's the same color with the paste. Let me just put a piece of paper underneath, but not just paper, as the fondant might stick to the paper. Also a piece of acetate paper, and that will just make everything quite visible. Okay, and also easy to maneuver. I will double check that I did not stretch the paste. Okay, that's quite often when you transfer the paste, you intend to stretch it. If that happens, what you can do is to get your smoother, okay, and then just tidy up. Just push in so the fondant or whatever paste you use, it looks nice and tidy. Okay, good. Then I will peel this away and keep it in front of me as an idea about what I'm planning to do. Now I already pre-cut the bits which I'm going to use for the bag, so let me show you how they look like. This will go for the time being into a little bag so that it doesn't dry. and I will explain you how I created all those details. So this practically matches the bit at the bottom. Yeah. Then to do the ends, I did something similar, which I have to attach and then paint and attach. And then in the center, I will have that kind of, how shall I call it? The tongue. I think that's how it's called, the tongue of the bag. And then this is going to come over. And with the writing, I can use the, the Prada cutters and embossers. You can buy them. I don't think they're very cheap, but if you are looking to, be quite accurate, you can use those kind of cutters or embossers. Or if it's for a birthday, I will probably suggest to put the name of the person and maybe like a happy birthday, message. I think it's just more realistic. It depends on what you are planning to create. And I have to do the things on the top because I had no chance to do those during the day. So I will just do them along with you and with the other bits. And we can paint and assemble everything right at the end. And I've got some extra bits just in case that I will decide to do some other decorations as well. Now let's see how I've managed to do those little decorations. First of all, I've used some gum paste. So this is a gum paste made by me, and the recipe is available on the Academy of Cake Decorating group. I picked up white colored gum paste, and that is a perfect base to be used, colored gum paste to be used with gold. So I got some old gold gel color from PME. I picked some of the gel along with a bit of threads. I've got petal base in here, which is a kind of posh type of threads, but it's just vegetable fat. And I started to knead that small quantity of fat. It helps you to condition the paste and also to spread the color into the paste quicker. I'm trying to color in my hand so that I don't touch the surface, as I might cover everything in color. So going to get this piece out and I will mix the both. So I get a bigger piece so I can use it for rolling and cutting. Now another thing which I will need will be a piece of cling film. The cling film will help me to get the raised effect onto the details. Okay, so the color looks pretty much uniform, which is great. And I'm going to squash it. I don't need the full piece, and I don't need my fan, as the fan will speed up the process of drying for my paste. I'm going to start rolling by hand. Typically I intend to roll through the gum paste to the pasta machine, as it's easier. Okay, I'm trying to see if I can see your comments, as they don't show here, if there are any comments. Comments. Are there any comments? I don't know. Somehow no comments. No comments. So I've rolled the gum paste to a decent thickness, maybe like an eighth of an inch or about 2 millimeters. You'll be fine. Not too thin, not too thick. Then you can cut freehand, or you can use a cutter. What I had here was a little cutter. I think it's a FMM cutter, which I've used, but you can use whatever you've got available. Looking through all my little weird shapes, I've also found this one from Gem. So I don't know, whatever you've got handy. In case you don't have any of those, you can definitely cut freehand, but just to show you how I've made those ones. I've cut one of the shapes out. I'm going to protect this with some cling film because it dries very quick, and while I'm talking this will end up rock hard. Okay, so I'm just going to cover it with some cling film and show you. So this shape, you can cut this like this. Yep, same like I did, where is it, in here. Then with the help of a number 4, sorry 5 not 4, and the number 16, I've put some texture in here. So with the number 5, I've applied some pressure just to mark this bit in here, and then I've used the number 16 to mark in here. And then I picked a number 21 from Wilton and cut out half of that semicircle. Okay, and that's how I've made this piece. But if you want to make it exactly like in here, then you get your rolled piece of paste. Just trying to get piece of paste smaller from the other end. Okay, and if you look, you just have to mimic what you've got here. So you've got a rectangle. Just pick the size of the rectangle. Start building the details from that end towards the other. And here you've got to use the 21 nozzle just to scoop that circle. It's literally thinking about how you can replicate this design by using fondant. Then you can measure, if you want to reproduce this identical, about half of an inch away. You've got that kind of extension, but overall the width is about 3/4 of an inch. So I'm going to measure the full width, which is like 3/4, and cut this as a rectangle. Okay, tidy up this round end, place this in here so it doesn't dry completely. Then measure the half of an inch, or maybe it's easier in centimeters, is 1 centimeter, that is slightly under half of an inch. So if I measure like 1 centimeter and 1 centimeter in here, and then is less than 1 centimeter across in here and in here, I have to find something round to mark. Now I don't want to cut completely. You can also get a tool and try to find the right size. It doesn't match the size of what I got here, but I can just use it as a guide. So I'm going to mark with my nozzle in one edge, so not applying like full pressure, just a little bit of a pressure just to mark. I'm going to cut this with a crafting knife, giving this end a round shape, and then I will remove this extra bit. So going from here where I've marked the half inch up to here where I can get that round part away. Cut. And cut. And then you can smooth, and you can smooth one side or the other. If the top got a bit dry, then you can use the other side. And you can also tidy up with your crafting knife if required. Because this part is a bit too big. I did not have the right size to fit. But it just looks similar with what I got here. And then you can also, maybe I have to cut a little bit more in the center. You can also emboss using the same nozzles like I did previously. Just place a hole in here with the number 16 and another one in there. And literally you replicate the same thing you've got here on the printing. Now to make this part in the center, it looks a bit bumpy, so you have to just use your rolled gum paste, put a piece of cling film over, get a ruler and just emboss. And after you've embossed, you have to just go on the other side and emboss. Make sure that you get the width required. Okay. So it just looks a bit round, and then get your crafting knife and your cut. A clean cut will do. Again, place those on the side and cover them so they don't get dry. And so this is the bit in the center, but the ends, if you notice, are rounded so that they can fit inside of this lock. So you can use a nozzle, and again press, but only press with one side of the nozzle. So you get that kind of a roundy shape, or you can just cut round with a scissor. This is actually what I did. I just picked the scissor and literally just cut round and tidy up. And then you measure and mark, and then just cut the other end. So if you want to be quite precise and replicate each detail, a template, a printed template will help you. And then you get the elements done, and then it's all very, very simple. Now to make the corners, you will just do exactly the same thing. What I did in here was actually using a cutter, which I had handy. So I've just pressed the cutter, but because the paste is quite thick, you have to remove the excess and then tidy up the edges. Or you can roll the paste thinner. Okay. But if you roll it thicker, then you have to go on the side and just tidy up here. I'm just going to do one end, so just to show you how I did it. But obviously you have to take your time and just do that same on the both sides. Okay, so that's just a full, a nice clean edge. All the bits you've got left, they have to stay covered, otherwise they will get dry. I keep saying this, but it is really important because you might need some more gum paste and you want to make sure you've got the same color. Good, so this is the half which I'm going to use. Yeah, going to cut this. If you want to be precise, again, you get the length, you get the width. But in here, I'm going to cut the corner. Okay, and I've got this round shape, which I can achieve by marking. And to mark this, I've used a larger nozzle, just going in here to mark, and then I've cut this extra bit. Just getting my crafting knife, and did the same on the other end. Okay, and to make the little buttons, I kind of did it slightly different. I've rolled the paste a bit thinner, not super thin, but definitely thinner than on the other occasions. Place the cling film over, and using the number 16 and the number 5 nozzle, I've just made some little dots to complete the design of that one. So you get your glue, and I'm using some edible glue here, but it can also be a drop of water. So you've got one large dot going in here and then two small going in here. And you pick the dots and you attach them in here. Or you can go for 21 and 16 or 21 and 4, whatever size you want to. I think I went for 21, that seems a bit bigger. But that's how you make that bit. So we've made the base, we've made the lock in here. With the writing, we can use that cutter. But it's quite fiddly, so you have to roll the gum paste very thin. Just get a piece of paste. And it also has to be a good quality gum paste. Not too sticky, because if it's too sticky, it will get stuck onto the cutter. And you literally just need the letters. Now with the Milano, you might have to paint that one because you cannot cut it so small. But you can just paint it or write it by hand. But with Prada, it should work like this. If you press, give it a jiggle, and then try and see, oops. So some of the letters got stuck onto the cutter, some others came out. And from here, you can leave it to dry for a few seconds so that you can remove the letters without breaking them. And it just seems that the P is not complete, so you have to attach it separately. I'm not sure if you can see in the image. It looks nice, but it's very, very tiny, so I'm not going to waste the time to do it like this. But you get letter by letter and you copy, or you can emboss and then you can use the background for just tracing and writing the message. I'm not sure if that makes sense. Let me just pick this up. It's just like using a stencil, or there might be stencils available, I don't know. Nowadays you can literally find anything. So in here, for example, you can place this on the surface and then just paint with gold if necessary. But I'm not going to do it. I will just put maybe a happy birthday message or something on the side, as is just more suitable for a cake, and plus that we don't have a license to produce Prada bags, so we have to do things in the way they work the best. So get to roll this piece of gum paste, make it a bit thinner so that we can put like a message. You can obviously use some of those new trendy cutters and paint the name. I'm going to, if I can find that set of cutters, just to cut happy birthday, this kind of cutter I was talking about. But if you want to emboss the letters and then paint, that's also an option. Okay, just rolling, then placing the cutter, bracing the plunge, and then releasing. So I've got this kind of a happy birthday, and I'm going to cut this bit so it looks straight, so I can place this as a tag on my handbag. Now I will just have to kind of improvise, because it was not quite visible what we've got there on the top of the bag. So I'm just going to get like 2 strips made in gold using this this type of strips, but a bit thicker. So I'm just going to roll some fondant, and I only need like a short kind of strip, so not very long. And I've got the strip cutter in here, which works very quick. So I'm going to cut through. To get a clean cut, you always have to check and make sure that there are not bits sticking out, and if there are, you can clean them, shave them off with your crafting knife. Okay, I think we're kind of finished with this dumpling, so it's going to go in the bag. Going to take out the black bit, which I'm going to use to create the tongue, and going to cut through the cutter. Obviously, if you don't have the same type of strip cutter, you can use whatever you have available. And I think maybe just one will be enough. As you can see, those are just kind of not hinges, but some decorations which we normally put on top of the bag. You can also make some hooks if you want to. I think they will look nice as hooks, but maybe a bit shorter. And then just catch the, how do you call it now? The handle. Okay, going to cut this away. And then just do the same thing with this. Get the length. Let's try to do it differently. I'm going to use this to make the support, and going to cut this to make two hooks. Okay, yeah, because I've realized I don't have enough rolled out, and I have to match the thickness, and I will have to just do too much for just such a simple job. And I'm trying to squeeze this piece of gum paste to get it to the shape I want, more like hooks. And on this strip I will just emboss the ends, and I'm kind of done. Now, before getting into the rolling of the black paste, I will quickly paint those decorations with gold. I'm going to take the measurements in here and see how much I need for this bit. About that much. And I think I will just keep those as spares. I'm not sure if I will need them or not. I will see. Okay, good. So at this point I have to start painting. I'm going to use a piece of aluminium foil, but I also will just place this over so it doesn't spread the light and trouble the eyes. And I will transfer the decorations into here, but just the ones I'm going to use, not all the ones which I've demonstrated. And got those two. To paint, I'm going to use a nice gold paint, which is a mix of some gold dust with some oil-based essence. Sorry, just realized that I forgot to get the essence, so just bear with me one sec. Trying to get it. So if any of you is familiar with the Dr. Oetker essence, is a vanilla essence, but they do have various flavors. This is a really nice one. Unfortunately, not available on the supermarket, so you have to buy it from a Polish shop, as Dr. Oetker only makes it for Poland. In Romania they also sell quite small bottles with this kind of oil-based essence, but pretty much any oil-based essence will work, and it also has a nice fragrance as well, so that's kind of a bonus. So I'm going to place a drop of this oil. Now you can also use, like, you know, a vegetable oil. It's just that intends to lose the shine a bit quicker. You have to be careful how you maneuver this as it would take very long time to dry, and it's very easy to stain your paste. So in case that you want something safer, I will advise you to go for just a normal gold dust with alcohol. But if you want the goldy look, then you have to go for this one. Now also, this is not edible, but it's not edible because it's not food, but it's not toxic, so it's a non-toxic product, especially made for cake decorating, but which doesn't probably is not a food, so it's non-edible. Is Italian, and it's called Ideale. Quite expensive. You can also buy something similar for edible art. A company here in UK producing those kind of dusts, with some of them are non-edible, but they are either hybrid or they are suitable for cake decorating. Now some of that oil I'm going to mix with the dust, and with the help of a brush I'm going to start painting. I'm wearing gloves just because I want to be able to change my gloves when it comes to the point of covering the cake and not staining everything, making everything gold. So going to brush those details. I'll put them in front of the fan and see if they get dry in time. If they don't get dry, nothing to panic about. You can attach them to the cake anyway. What I'm saying is, if you start moving the cake around, then you might get into trouble because you might take some of the gold away. But if you don't keep moving it, just transfer the cake on the board and attach the flap, then it will be fine. But you know, sometimes people intend to just touch their creations, and obviously that will just cause a bit of a trouble. So just trying to do a quick paint. The fact that the oil-based essence is flavored with vanilla just makes everything to smell quite nice, and it will preserve that kind of fragrance for longer, because the essence is always will always have a stronger flavor when it's applied as an oil than when it's used and baked along with the rest of the ingredient into a cake. So it will just make the whole cake to smell nice. Okay, and just this bit. Now with the handle, we'll get to it in a sec, and we'll use two quick methods to make one strip or strap, how you want to call it, and literally handle. Okay, which we will secure with two toothpicks. Now if you want to get it firm quick, you will have to use some either gum paste or modeling paste. The fondant will get a bit floppy, or it will require much longer time. If you have got nothing else than the fondant, you can add some CMC that will make it firmer, or you can insert a wire, which I don't really recommend, as if you put wires and all gets into a bit of a too much non-edible stuff onto here. As you can put a disclaimer when you make this for the customer and say, look, the gold is looking really nice, but unfortunately is non-edible, so all the gold decorations should be removed before slicing the cake. Or you can use just edible gold dust. It doesn't have the same effect, so it doesn't look so nice when painted, but it's fully edible. So there are two options, which you can pick the one which suits your project the best. And then with this, I'm also going to paint those quickly and show you how to set them once we've got the cake covered. So I'm going to change my gloves after finishing with the painting and just quickly do that black strip, which we'll use on the front as the tongue, and then we'll get the cake out, cover, and stick the decorations. You will see it's all going to work very quick if it's all working fine. So going to put those in front of the pan. Okay, and then strip my gloves off. Let's finish with packing first and wiping. Those extra bits, they can just go on the side. This can also go on the side somewhere. Tidy up and take the gloves away. Now, typically when you wear gloves, your hands intend to sweat, so they might be a bit sticky now, but hopefully it's going to be okay. To roll this piece of black paste. Now, to highlight the difference between those two, what you can also do is, for example, this top part and this strip or tongue, or how you want to call it, you can glaze it or brush it with some oil. Maybe brushing with some oil would be more convenient because I've really got that essence here, and we can quickly apply a little bit of it. So I'm going to roll this. Oops, I told you that my hands are a bit sticky. When they get sticky, you can obviously put some icing sugar, corn flour. I don't intend to use cornstarch when I roll fondant because it stains, and that's one of the reasons why I don't use the icing sugar, as I don't like the feeling on my hands, and also it just changes the look of the fondant. Now, even with that soft fondant which we started with, because it was kept in front of the pan, it's more maneuverable. So you can use one or the other, but I'm going to leave it now because I think the other one behaves better. But it gets a little bit more firm. So something to bear in mind, that patience is really, really important when it comes to not just decorating generally. So if you're patient and the fondant starts getting a bit dry, then you can use the fondant, or you can mix it with CMC, or you can use a paste. Mix of fondant and gum paste, or just modeling paste. Now with this paste, I will have to trim this top part, which I will leave a bit wider, as I might have to put it over the bag. Okay, just going to cut here, and normally I should trim in here. So, getting my ruler, and cutting this. Then I can also use the stitchy tool. Let's see where I put my stitchy tool. I had it here like a minute ago, but it just disappeared. Okay, so I'm going to use this stitchy tool from PME, which has one end as a Dresden tool, one is like a stitchy tool. And I'll put a bit of texture in here. If you are not confident you can do it with by just running freehand, you can put the ruler and keep it with a light pressure so that it can guide you, and you start going gently and slowly without pressing very hard, as you want the texture but you don't want to kind of cut through the fondant. Okay, and then you do the same thing on the edging. And if you want to, you can do the same thing right on the top. Maybe just use the ruler just to strengthen and get that end straight before doing the same stitch design. So do not press very hard, in case it will cut through. You just want to get a nice embossing in here. And then we have to make this part in the center. I think we've got enough here. Yeah, that's fine. When you maneuver the page, it tends to get a bit like uneven. So if you tap, you get a straight edge, and then start measuring. And we've got about 5 centimeters. So I think we've got enough here. 5 and 5. I've measured, and then I'm going to join those two bits. Okay, and I have to round on this side. I can either use a template or just go by eye, or whatever you think it works for you to make that round. I think I'm going to use the end of one of the smoother tools, if I can see where that is. If not, I found something else. That's a scraper. I'm just trying to find something which is quite popular, and it literally can be found on any kind of basic equipment of cake decorating. So that's a scraper. So I'm going to use the end of this scraper as a guide to run down the top. Okay, so I've got this sorted. Then I also have to run the ruler along the ruler, just to do the stitchy bit in here. Same on the other side. And then tidy up. And I have to also do it in here. I have to do it freehand, so no rush, going slowly so that you can control the pressure, and you've got this sorted. Good, so literally I've got all the details needed to complete the design. So I'm going to get the front of the bag, which I have to finish in the same way, like this one. So going to get this, maybe I will apply this straight onto the bag, and I will do the same thing with this. I'm going to use this just as a guide to see where it goes. So I've got the right length, it can go right up to here. Then I can start stitching the decorations which I've just painted. I'm going to put some gloves as I don't want that gold paint to come on my hands. The gloves can always go into the bin, and I also have to do the stitches, excuse me, in here. So going to run the stitchy tool in here, and same in here. If you rest your little finger on the surface, you should be able to do it with a constant pressure and a constant with a straight line. Good. So I will have to start by brushing some glue. First of all, I have to brush this right down in here. You know how this glue works? It just makes the surface sticky. So if you brush it and you wait a little, then it will stick better than if you try to attach the items immediately. And I will also have to attach those on the corners. Now whenever you've got something to apply and you are not too sure where those items will have to go, if you've got the template, you place the template on the top and you just drill some holes, and they will give you a good idea about where to place the items. So in here, for example, I will have to come with one of my decorations from here. So I will put some glue in here, and sorry, I forgot to mark the other one. As if I've marked it, let's carry on with the marking. And I have to place one in here. Okay, and again, this will have to have some glue. So getting the items, the golden bits in here. So I have to attach those. Now if you notice next to those, I've got glue in here, not gold. Next to those decorations, I also have got like a line traced, so I can just do that after setting the decorations. I'm going to put the strip right at the base and use the end of the brush to secure it, and I can just quickly brush over to correct. Okay, then I've got the corners to set. Maybe I can add a little bit of glue in here, and I can attach them in here. Again, I can press maybe with this tool just to make sure that they connect, or I can press with my finger and then I can correct the paint, but then I have to be very careful not to touch the tape, just the gold decorations. Same in here, just a little bit of gold that comes in here. Okay, then I've got those two pieces to put. What I can do, I can set this in the center so that I know the distance is correct, and I can take this away because I have to put the black bit first. So I'm going to attach on the back of this decoration. I've got lots of gold, so I have to wipe this off to make sure it sticks to the surface, and maybe put a little bit of glue. So this will have to go in here. Okay, so we'll have this in the center, and just double check and do the same thing with the other one. Okay, then I will take this gently away. And no problem if I stay in the center, because I will have the black bit going here. What else do I have to put? The hooks will be on the top. This is going to be in the center. So I'm kind of done with the gold decorations. If by mistake, like here, I think I'll put a little bit of gold. You can get a tissue and you can wipe, and then you have to dry with a dry cloth, but it's just so insignificant, then I will not be bothered about. So I can stick this on as well. I'm going to put, in fact, if I look at the design, I have to stick the other one first. So let's put this first. Now, as I pre-cut this a little bit wider, I'm going to place it here, just halfway, and half will remain like gold. Too much gold in here, and then I've got this to set. Not too much glue, but enough to stick the whole thing, and get it in here and here. Okay, so I can now stick the central part as well, just with some glue. And maybe you can apply a little bit of pressure so that you can prepare the resting bit for that center part. I'm going to try and use the glove just to pick that decoration. Hopefully I'm not going to drop it, mess the whole thing. Okay. Okay, I'm just going to press it. Now if the gum paste is still fresh like ours, then be gentle with your pressing. And if you have to correct, just get your gold brush and just tidy up if necessary for where you touched. If you've smudged the paint or if you changed anything and you are not happy, just tidy up. Now I also have to put that happy birthday message, so I'm going to put a little bit of a glue here and pick that piece as well. And this will be placed in front of the fan till the cake gets covered completely. And then I will just transfer this bit onto the cake. Good. So I think it's all looking nice for the time being. You can also use glaze and glaze it. But for now it's just fine. I will just place it in front of the fan. So we've got two options. We can either use the printed image or we can use the one we've made. Still got those to apply, but when it's all done, I'm going to put those in front of the fan as well. Clearing up the table so that we can take the cake out and start covering. And we've got the paste, the first batch of paste ready rolled. Okay, just getting the cake. Okay, all nice and firm. So I'm going to peel this off from the turning table as I don't need it right now and get just the cake in front of me. I'm going to put some gloves. Wearing gloves is not necessarily because I don't know, I don't like to touch the cake. I don't like it because it's grease, but it just gives you the chance in case you have to kind of have an emergency in clean hand, in case you have to attach something or have to catch something and you need a clean hand, you can strip the glove and here it is. But if you are with your bare hands, then you have to go and wash your hands and it might not be suitable for that particular moment. So there is nothing too smooth because all looks nice. So I'm going to just peel this cling film, the top one, and transfer the paste which I've got already rolled. That was the one I showed you right at the beginning. Okay, so that's the pasta top, and I will place it over in one go. So just like the traditional method of covering. I'm going to peel this off. And now I have to smooth. Oops. Going to stretch it so that it covers the cake. Now on the side, you can overlap those two pieces, and if you want to, you can lift this over. You will be absolutely fine. Anyway, you will have the size and you will cover. But if not, you can cut. Then in here, same thing. You can do this bit, or you can just trim. Let's trim for the fun of trimming. Okay. Going to trim this off as well. And then I will cut the excess on the side. leaving just a little bit more excess because I want to tuck this underneath when I transfer the cake. Just do the same thing in here. Same thing in here. And in here. Now on the side, if you are really picky about the sides, you can either do some more edible printing and stick some pockets or something, or leave it as it is and attach some pockets made with paste, which I'm going to do. Okay, I get my board, and on my board, ignore those stains. It literally was just a reused board. And I'm thinking when the bag is finished just to apply a flower, so I can use the board either way, but I think it just looks better on this side. I have to put a bit of buttercream. Okay, just going to add the buttercream so it keeps the cake in place. But if, for example, you have to travel with the cake immediately after finishing, I would suggest to put a bit of candy melt, melted candy melt, and then transfer the cake. That's going to set the cake immediately on the board. Okay, going to transfer this in here. And with the help of a palette knife or a knife, I'm going to pop this slightly underneath and push the cake slightly forward. And tidy up on the back, tidy up in here. Okay, just going to put in this buttercream. Good. And before transferring those pieces, I will go and use this as an example for my printed paper. Just hope. Let's see if I change the camera I can see better what happens. Yeah, I think it's a better viewing in here. But I will have to move to the turning table. Good. So let's start with this edible printing. I'll flip this upside down, get some of my either Trex, butter, you can use even buttercream. I will just grease the back of the printed paper. If you have to keep the cake in the fridge for longer before delivering or before collection, I would suggest to put this bit right on the end, or glaze the edible printing before applying it to the cake because it intends to absorb the moisture. So I'm going to place this in here. Okay. And here it is. The bag is almost done. Then I will have this flower on the side. And maybe, yeah, I don't know, if you want to, you can make another plaque with a birthday message. And just to do some side pockets, I will just roll a bit of paste. Getting the paste a bit longer than the side of the bag. Then I will have to trim. Decide on the width. Let's change the angle as I think we need the side viewing again. So decide on the width and how tall you want that pocket to be like. Say for example, if I go for this kind of width, is wider than the side of my bag, and I will trim to get it nice. If you are afraid that this is too soft, you can use modeling paste or gum paste, or this is the fondant, which is super soft. So I think I will be fine. Okay, it doesn't look very neat, but I'm going to sort it out when I will transfer it. Now I'm going to put some stitchy design on the side. Okay, on here and on here and on here. Then looking for, it can be a wooden dowel, it can be how do you call it, a pencil, the stuff you use, just to give you an idea about where to apply another stitchy design. I think that's going to be just okay. Then I'm going to grease either this piece or fondant. No glue. I've got anyway lots of condensation already on the cake, so there is no point of putting any glue. But I'm going to put a bit of grease. That will help me to put the fondant in the right place. And I'm going to start from this end, tucking that fondant on the side. Then, as I said, you can use a wooden skewer, you can use I don't know, a dowel, whatever works for you, just to create this kind of a pocket shape. And also press where you've embossed, just press that in there. I've pressed with a tool marked with gold. That was silly, absolutely silly. So I'm going to do this again, but this time with the blade of the knife, so that I don't get gold in here. Enough with this, so much gold, less gold, more value. Okay, going to press in here, and it will just give me that effect of a pocket, side pocket. Oops, I put it on the floor before it's done. Where is it? If you can see it. Yeah. I'm going to take some close-up photos when it's done so that you can see. Well, literally you can increase the shape by just the loop by just pulling with a pencil or something sharp. And you can do the same thing on the other side, or you can just literally just put a strip or do whatever you think is going to be beneficial for your bag. I think I'm going to quickly roll a piece of paste and put some stitches and just put a strip. That's all I'm going to do. That's so you can come up with so many details. Just unbelievable. Can you put many details? Of course. That's how we import, of course. For those of you who know Jim Rohn. Okay. Good in here. Then we've got the front to put and the handle. Let's do the handle first, and I'm going to use the modeling paste. I've still got a bit left in here, or it can be gum paste. Just a quick handle, and this handle will be made out of some modeling paste. Just quickly kneading this modeling paste. Okay, to make like a sausage. To make the sausage neat, you can use the smoother and decide on the thickness. Okay, and then whenever you decide this is what I want for the handle, you can press and get a ridge. I don't have the other smoother handy, the one with the sharp edge, so I'm going the straight edge. I'm going to use this ruler just to apply some pressure and flatten one of the ends. Okay, and then I will remove the excess, just cutting with my crafty knife. I don't want this to be, oops, to be that wide. And then with a stitchy tool, put the details and just do that curve shape and trim the ends. Then I can insert 2 toothpicks and get this set on the cake. Okay, and I can also make a strip or strap, or typically I will go to the pasta machine and I'll just roll it, because it just involves too much stress in rolling the long strip. But I'm going to just do it by hand, make it a bit thicker so that I can put some stitches. So rolling into a very long sausage, which turns up into kind of a rope. Then using the rolling pin. Now the rolling pin is 14-inch rolling pin, just to give you an idea about the length, but it's not relevant, absolutely not relevant, because you can put whatever length you prefer in here. This is a bit narrow, but it will be fine. I'm going to trim and just get it straight freehand, but you can definitely use a ruler. And then I will just trim the other end to tidy up, and see if I'm happy with maybe from here up to here. Now if you think, oh, but that's a bit too short, you can make another piece, and when you make the fold, put like a crease, then you can join them so no one will notice that actually is made out of 2 pieces. There are too many handles here, so one and short, it will be fine. So I'm going to run the stitchy tool. Now this stitchy tool, it does give a really nice fabric effect, and I think it's quite cool to use it, but you don't have to if you're in a rush. Okay, and the ends you can also just connect the ends by making a little, how would you call it, just flipping that over, and then by adding a small piece of possibly gum paste, you can cut that with a nozzle, or just literally just do it by hand in here, and then you can paint with gold after sticking onto the cake. Now let's see what we have to stick in here. Now because I've got this end which doesn't look great, I'm going to attach this in here, but I have to paint it. So quickly going to get my brush and do this quick painting in here. As it's ready made, I don't have to waste the time to do it. Just going to brush it quickly with some gold and stick it on the side. Now I said about this oil that typically keeps the paint fresh for longer, but at one point it starts drying, and I think it started to dry, and it's just difficult to pick some more from here. Now to make sure it's not going to slide on the side, I'm going to stick it with some tracks. Okay, as I don't have anything else to attach to it, it will be fine like this. Then I'm going to quick them quickly clean my gloves to make sure I don't have spots of gold. I've just noticed I've got a label here with happy birthday, which I'm going to use with sugar paper. It's printed. I did not realize that I've got it here, so I can place this in here and the flour. So just to complete this side of the cake, and I can also put the oops, you cannot see me, let me change the angle. Front. Okay, so what I can do is to place this strip in here. So I've got the happy birthday message, I've got the strip, and I can just place this in here, or I can set it towards the end. Going to turn to the other side and get my handmade decoration. Now, because I've got all those goldy bits, I don't want to put any gold onto the surface, so we'll try to flip it on my hand. I can put a bit of tricks in here as well, but this fondant is very sticky, so I have to be careful how I attach the plaque, because it will be difficult to peel it off once attached. Now, excuse me, I have to rotate so you can see what I'm doing. That's going to go in here. Okay, and then it all goes over. Now, if the corners look a bit floppy, you can pop something underneath, like a small piece of fondant. Maybe just roll out 2 pieces of fondant, lift the corners and place your fondant in here, so that literally you get this kind of a nice volume in here. We'll do the same thing on the other side before the condensation starts behaving. Okay. Now in here, if you want to close up, you can also roll some fondant to put a strip. That's good. This is good. This is good. This is good. Okay. This is good. The only thing which I'm missing here is just a little bit of gold. I don't have the glasses and I don't want to mess the cake. Well, I've got this area here showing that it was not completely painted. Good. And then get my smoother, tidy up in here. Just press to get it level. Then I have to put the handle. Before attaching the handle, I can attach those decorations, just a little bit of glue, and I'm going to put one in here. That's actually my addition, so just because I had them made, I thought it's a shame not to use them. Then still got those bits. If I put them in here, yeah, they look nice. So I've got to just attach them with some glue. Same in here. And I might just brush a bit more of this gold. Cool. Then I will strip the gloves off. There's too much gold on my hands. Set the handle. And I'm going to set the handle on the opposite side So I've marked, but now I'm going to pop my toothpick as the cake is started to get soft. So one here, one here. Okay, just one sec, as I've got one of my toothpicks, temperamental. Okay, so I did more like elongated type of handle in here, and then I've got this strap which can go here on the back. But before it goes on the back, I will just quickly get anyway, I've got this fondant rolled out. I can just cut a piece. Up. Just to complete here where I've got the printed paper, just to make it to look nice and not unfinished. Smoothing that out, that difference between, sorry, I've just touched the gold somehow. Don't know how I've managed to do it, so I'll have to give it a quick wash, which I said it's fine if it happens with a damp cloth. You can definitely do it. And then I will get some glue. Get the glue in here and in here, and put this strap. So I will get it behind the flower, and next to the happy birthday message. Then I also have to paint those two little dots. So I hope that you've enjoyed the demo. I would love to hear your comments and your questions if you've got any. Thank you very much for joining me and supporting the demo throughout the evening. As I know you've got very busy days. It's not just me being busy, everybody is busy, and I do appreciate the fact that you took your time to watch me. So this is what we managed to do. A nice bag, which doesn't cost 1,700, only costs like 2 hours of work, and a little bit of cake, fondant, imagination and passion. So have a lovely evening everyone, and see you next week. Bye bye.